When you do heavy calculation on your laptop, have you ever heard that there's a sound that comes up from your laptop? That's actually the sound of fans that are trying to cool down your laptop. How does it work? Here in this video, I'm the Fernandez who will try to discuss and explain that. So we'll discuss it through several sections, which the first is type of cooling system, second is material that it uses, and we'll try to analyze the heat transfer, and we'll conclude after that. So the first is type of cooling system. There are two types, which are passive and active. So for passive, it uses natural convection through the external surface, which is the surface that extends from the original surface, which makes it have more surface area, which lead to the better heat transfer performance. However, because it does not use fans to force the convection to be occur, it has lower performance, but it's quieter and it is lighter. For the second one is active cooling system, where it uses the fans to force the convection, which make the performance of the heat transfer become better, but it is louder and maybe heavier. And second, we'll discuss the material that it uses. In choosing the material, we account for these four things. The first is thermal conductivity, which describes how good the material to transfer one temperature from one point to another. And second is CET, or conversion of thermal expansion, which describes how fast how fast the material is expanded because of change of temperature. The third is density, which describes the weight of the material in specific volume. And the fourth is the cost. We want to have the cheapest material but with highest performance. Therefore, there are several materials that may be chosen for this system. And for the acceptance, we may use this table as set. If we try to compare all of that, we'll see that aluminum silicon carbide have the average and accepted lower CTE, lower density, and the average cost, which is the best from all of them. So we'll try to analyze the heat transfer that occur on the laptop itself. So first, let's assume that this is motherboard, processor, heatsink, and heat pipe. If it is used, the processor would generate heat, and the heat itself would transfer to the heatsink. However, if we zoom in between the heatsink and processor, we'll see that there's a heat resistance, which is the gaps between those, and this will decrease the performance of the heat transfer. Therefore, manufacturing usually fill the gap by thermal paste that will decrease the heat resistance. If it's low enough, we can neglect it, and that's it, our first assumption. Then the heat transfer will transfer through the conduction on the heat pipe, and the conduction itself is governed by this equation, which is K is the thermal conductivity, AC is cross-section area, dT over dx is the temperature distribution over x space, and if we see the dimension of x, y, and z is much lower than x, so that we can assume that the conduction is only 1D, only D, x-axis only, and we also assume that there is no convection occur on the heat pipe and thermal conductivity is constant. Next, the heat will transfer into this external surface, and there are force convection that will occur because of fans on the gray area, and the convection itself is governed by this equation, which where H is the convection coefficient, A is the area, T minus T infinite is the difference between surface temperature and the temperature of the fluid. U infinite is the velocity of the fluid itself. In this, we will assume that convection coefficient is constant. So, for about, we have analyzed the conduction on heatsink and pipe and convection at fins. With this assumption, which on 6 and 7 I added, in steady state we will not account for temperature change over time. So the advantage of those assumptions, which are easier to calculate and faster to calculate the temperature distribution. However, it is not accurate and we cannot see the temperature distribution over time. So the conclusion is we have already discussed about the types of cooling system. We have already discussed the material and we have already tried to analyze what's the heat transfer that occurs on the device itself. Hope this video is helpful and thank you.